station like the diamond. You would think she was queen of the land. And her hair all over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band.
Hi, and welcome back. My name is Sheldon McLeod. This is the SaltWire Network, and thank you for being a part of our audience. And we're just around the corner from St. Patrick's Day, and my grandmother was a Joyce, my grandfather was a McLeod. Everybody wants to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day, and you're not going to miss this opportunity to see the legendary Irish Descendants playing at a venue I've not yet been, Lighthouse Arts Centre in Halifax. And this is quite an event. And St. Patrick's Day lands on a Friday this year, if I'm not mistaken. And the Irish Descendants have been around. Now, it says here, born of Irish immigrants, all members of the Irish Descendants were workers in the Newfoundland fishing industry before forming the band in 1990. And there's a name that I see consistently on the lineup. Con O'Brien is his name. He joins us from his home in Witless Bay, one of those beautiful parts of the Maritimes here in Atlantic, Canada. And Con O'Brien, thank you very much for joining me, sir. I appreciate this.
Well, it's good to meet you, Sheldon. I'm delighted to be here. And we, I understand that you've been to my hometown a few times, so that's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful place. I'm looking at the bird sanctuary as we speak. So,
the bird sanctuary, and I got to ask your thoughts on living next to the North Atlantic. And you were telling me some challenges with the plumbing because of the cold, that you haven't seen anything quite like this. How are things in rural Newfoundland and Labrador these days?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Things have changed an awful lot in my time, as your introduction was so correctly stated. We were all the original lineup of this band. We're all working and living around the fishery. So coastal Newfoundland for us was a very important aspect of life. Things have changed since the cod fishery. Back in 1992, we were a young band. And just trying to find our way, and working in the pubs of Newfoundland and over to Halifax, played the lower deck for 2 week back-to-backs, and the fishery was a big part of our life. So the coastal life for us is what we're used to, and what's I guess the closest and the most dear thing to our hearts is living by the sea. So we're very fortunate.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the popularity of Newfoundlander traditional music started to take off. I know your band and others around the Maritimes in the early 90s, right around the time of the collapse of the fishery. So I don't think that's a coincidence. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, one of the songs that we recorded was written by a fellow named John Fippert back in one of the early songs. It was a song called "Will They Lie There Evermore," and that refers to the cod trap boats, what we would call a trap skiff, which would dotted the coastline from our part of the world. They were little open 33-foot boats, and they were used to execute the cod fishery. And the question from the song was, "Will they lie there evermore?" And back then, my family was in the fish business. My father had to go down on the factory floor, and in a couple of our facilities, and send 600 people home that morning. I'll never forget it. It changed my life forever. It changed the life of my family forever. And the songs and the stories that we tell about it are near and dear to our hearts. And there is I guess the coincidence of music becoming popular at that time is no coincidence, because the fishery did spawn a lot of music. You have ourselves, you had A Great Big Sea followed us, a lot of different sorts of acts in this genre, because Newfoundland, the makeup of the place, the Europeans that arrive here come from the west coast of England, Ireland, and France. So the music just sort of comes by nature. It doesn't cost any money. It just happens for us. So what we did was we take our songs and our stories that we were singing in our kitchens and just brought it firstly to the pubs and then to the theaters and festivals of the world. And we've been very fortunate in that period of time. For me now, it's 33 years later. And I've had a very rewarding career. I have another 15 years to go, Sheldon, and I'm on the second going into the third generation of fans. Meeting some young people, whose moms and dads were fans when we started, and now they were going down the highway with their children in the car, playing the Rattling Bog and all the different songs that we've performed over that period of time. We've recorded, I think it's 14 records now, so it's a fair body of work, and we've been very fortunate to have a good fan base all the way through.
It's a bit of a trope. It's kind of wives' tale that everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador plays an instrument, and that there's music everywhere. The legendary kitchen party. What was young Con O'Brien's exposure to music? How do you recall what that was like for you?
Yeah, I do. It was near and dear. Both sides of my family, there's music. My father was a good musician, and my mother's people were all great musicians. I have an uncle who kind of was influential in me learning how to play guitar. My uncle Al was my mother's brother. He's, I think, around 74, 75 years of age now. He's been performing in bands since the late 60s and still plays to this day. My father played accordion and guitar and piano, and on Sunday mornings, before we'd go to mass, he'd come in and he'd flick the light in my room, and he said, "Now you're out all last night going around the harbour in the car. I can see how much gas you burnt, and you're listening to your obviously heavy metal head at the time. You're listening to Black Sabbath and Judas Priest last night. Now get out in the kitchen. We're going to play a few tunes." And that was the normal thing in many houses, many homes in Newfoundland. No different than it is in Nova Scotia. That the music that they carried across the ocean with them as transient immigrants to this place. The O'Briens I'm living in Witless Bay, but we're really from the next community, which is called Bay Bulls. Mm-hmm. The O'Briens of Bay Bulls arrived here in 1721. We're relative newcomers. On the other side of my family is a Welsh name. We're Williamses. And those people arrived here in 1628. So, we've been around for a while, going down over these meadows and cow paths for a long, long time. So music is a big, big part of life over here. It doesn't cost anything. What we always say, what comes by nature costs no money. So that's how I was immersed in music from a very early age and continue.
And the roots run deep. And I'm wondering what the conversation was like when it wasn't just a hobby and playing in town, but it was, we're going to go out on the road. We're going to make this our lives. This is going to be the way that we pay the bills. What was the reaction like that from the family to that?
That was kind of interesting, because working and growing up around the fishery, we had a big business and a going concern. And when the moratorium occurs in 1992, the rug was pulled out from underneath my feet. I was a young man, just starting university. I had planned to go to hopefully go to law school and become a lawyer, helping the family business. There was three, my father and his two brothers, so there was a lot of us involved. And when that occurred, that completely changed the water on the beans. We had to go and figure out something else. Now, at that time, I was going to university and had the little band, and subsequently we got together, put together the Irish Descendants. But before that, I was performing, and all of a sudden, the Irish Descendants happened, and there's a great deal of interest. We made a record, and sold tens of thousands of copies of that record. People really accepted what we were doing. And lo and behold, a trip to Nova Scotia to the East Coast Music Awards, it was called the Atlantic Music Awards. It was even preceded the East Coast Music Awards, down in the Club Flamingo, and a bunch of record companies come at us, and we took our time. We were very lucky to have engaged the friendship of a very influential music man, Sam Snyderman, Sam the Record Man, who took us under his wing in a big way and helped us in the next year to meet and reach out to every major label in the country, and that ended with with the band signing a 5-album international recording deal with Warner Music Canada, and so the rest is history, really.
There's been a change, an evolution, and this isn't unusual for things to move through different technology, different mediums. From records to cassettes to CDs to streaming. And for a young man who had a passion for traditional music and songs that you knew and grew up with, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on the industry today. Clearly, you're going to be playing at the Lighthouse Arts Centre in Halifax on March 17th. Getting in front of people and seeing them smile and dance and move is still a part of it, but the industry is not the same industry. Would the Irish Descendants have been able to navigate a streaming world that we exist in today?
Well, we have. Our fan base is diverse. We have, I always say that this band has been very fortunate because we, the demographic for the band is like Hasbro age, which is 9 to 90. We're as comfortable in a kindergarten class as we are in a retirement home. And so that being said, we've had a loyal fan base. We were, I guess, really early in Newfoundland. We were on the cutting edge of technology because we're the first band in the history of recorded music in Newfoundland to release a CD. I remember my mother saying to my mom, "Now, Mom, we're going to have to get a CD player, And she said, "Sure, we don't have any CDs." I said, "Yes, but we're going to have one very shortly, so if you want to hear us." So we've gone from cassettes to CDs and through that format into, the actual manufacturing of records and CDs and vinyl is coming back, but we haven't really delved into that. But in the streaming world, we've held our own. It's unfortunate in some ways because in the streaming world, people don't listen to the full albums anymore, which is it's a shame because when you sit back, I know I was over to a friend's house the other night and she threw on a vinyl album, and you actually have to get up and go over to the player, pick up the needle and drop it on a song if you want to skip a song. But nowadays you can just tell Siri to skip a song, or you don't even have to listen to the whole album, which is, it's problematic for artists because we put a lot of time and thought and effort into recording. So that's changed, and revenues have changed dramatically as a result. But, we're still very fortunate. Our demographic is a little older. And at the live performances, they still want to take a little piece of you from the show to the home. We conform. I know during COVID, I started to do a lot of, virtual shows, pretty well solo stuff, but that was rewarding and fulfilling. And, it kept, I guess, kept the chops up mostly. But we as time goes on, you never know what's going to be next. And there are challenges for everybody in the music industry because of that. And I think that we've weathered the storm as best we can.
So, Conor O'Brien in Halifax, March 17th, for people who haven't seen you for a while or who may have never have experienced the Irish Descendants, tell me about the players. Tell me about what people can expect.
Well, we have a wonderful lineup. The band over the years has changed. I'm the lowest common denominator, I guess. I've been there since day one, and I'll probably be there till the last day. But I've got a seasoned veteran fiddle player. The makeup of the band over the years, sound wise, has been fiddle, guitar, some other melody instruments, mandolins and tin whistles, and a bass player that combined with a 4-part harmony that's really. So it's that combination has never really changed. And currently, I have a husband and wife team. They just had a baby in the last few weeks. And they're coming, no problem. I have Patrick Moran, who's one of our seasoned veterans, who will be with me. And what you can expect from the show is a lively, well produced show with all of the crowd favorites from over the years. You'll hear the Rattling Bog, you will hear Catch the Wind, you'll hear Let Me Fish Off Cape St. Mary's, and you can on St. Patrick's Day. We'll brush off some of the wonderful Irish pub standards. And for old fans and new fans, they'll be pleasantly surprised and happy with the performance for sure.
Black Velvet Band.
Sure, if you're going to be there, you have to come up and sing it.
Oh, no, thanks. No one wants to hear that. Never. No way. It's amazing. I listened to an interview from a producer who said one of the things that he really is doing is just trying to get people to do something that they love. And it sounds like lawyer OBrien might not have been happy, but performer OBrien is having a time.
Well, there's lots of lawyers in my family, so I have no trouble. If I need legal help, I have it. Music for me has been a fulfilling career. I've gotten to see the world. I've got to, it's an amazing sort of experience for anybody who's stood on a stage, and you get to affect the emotions of an audience. That's an intoxicating thing for a performer. So I've been afforded that feeling, somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 times in my life. A long career means a lot of shows. We've been, again, around the world performing. Met so many nice and wonderful people. It's, Halifax and Nova Scotia in general are near and dear to our hearts, because that was the first places that we went outside of Newfoundland. And we have a big fan base over there, and we're just looking forward tremendously to getting back. We spend a lot of time in Western Canada. We have recently changed management, and there's some more of a focus from that operation on the East Coast. So we're looking forward to continuing on and developing a lovely fan base again, because now the second generation is coming through. So we need them for another. If I'm going to last another 15 years, Sheldon, I need those 20-year-olds.
You've got that financial advisor giving you the goods of what has to happen. What is tax time? I've not been at Lighthouse Arts Center, hearing great things. For folks who have not been, you can either sit down in the stadium, or you can, I believe there's general admission standing. So there's a place for everybody for your comfort level. It is 19 or older, so there's a good reason for that. Wishing you nothing but the best. Safe travels on the way home. The laundry's done, I hear, and your water's back on. It sounds like everything's coming up Con O'Brien today. So thank you for spending some time with me.
Sheldon, I really appreciate it. And I hope if you get out to the show, make sure that you come over and say hello.
Absolutely.
And we'll sing that Black Velvet Band for you.
Con O'Brien of the Irish Descendants. All the best, sir.
Thank you, sir.